Welcome back. This is day 2 of section 4.2, and in this video we are going to graph function sine and cosine functions with translation. So we'll see if they are shifted up, down, to the left, or to the right. And to do that, we are going to look at some examples. They are telling me to find everything: the amplitude, period, step, vertical shift, and phase shift, then graph. Okay? So let's look at first one here. The function is y equals 3 minus 2 sine x. So after finding all of the amplitude, period, step, vertical shift, phase shift, we'll use this information to help us graph the function. So say the amplitude, paper. Okay, the amplitude is the absolute value of -2, and that is a 2. Period is 2 pi over b, and b is 1 in this function, so it is 2 pi. The step is the period divided by 4, and that is 2 pi divided by 4. That will give me pi over 2. And the vertical shift is, as you see, I have 3 here in the front, so this is 3 units up. Okay? Phase shift is, I don't have phase shift here. I don't have minus or plus a number, so there is no phase shift. I'll say none. Okay, now we can graph this function using this information. So first I'll do the x and y axis. And because the amplitude is 2, so my graph, so usually when we don't have a vertical shift, we'll graph here around the usual x-axis. But if you remember, I told you before in the last video, when we have a vertical shift, we will create a new x-axis, either up or down, depending on the value of the vertical shift. And this time it's 3 up, so I'm going to go up 3 units. So this is 1, 2, 3, and so here is my new x-axis. See, this is the usual one, the one that we always use without the shift up or down. But since we have 3 units up shift, I'm gonna create a new x-axis here, and I'll graph around this one. Okay, there's my new x-axis at 3. Now when the amplitude is 2. So the graph will go 2 units above the 3. So it will go 2 units up. That's 1, 2. That will be 5. And 2 units below the 3. So 3, 1 unit down. That's 2. Another one. That's 1. Okay. So my graph will be between the 5 and 1, or between 1 and 5. We'll start taking values for x, and since we said this, the step is pi over 2, so we will start with pi over 2 here, and then add another pi over 2, that would be pi, adding another one, that's 3 pi over 2, then 2 pi. Okay, now we'll take values of x, plug it in the equation. So when x is 0, find sine for 0, multiplied by 2, then subtract it from 3, and that should give you a 0. Oh, yes, when x is 0. When x is pi over 2, 1/2 pi, plug it in here, do all the steps that will give you a sine of 1. When x is pi, plug it in here, times 2, subtract from 3, that will be 3. Okay, because sine of pi is 0 times 2, that's still a 0. 3 minus 0, that is a 3. And here what I have. Okay, next we have x is 3 pi over 2, that will take me up to 5. Okay, and when x is 2 pi, it will take me to 3. Here I have all of my points. Them. It's a little off here, but okay. So here's my graph, and as you see, it's shifted 3 units up, and it's upside down because we have done -2 here. Okay, and that was the first one. Now let's look at another. It's number 2. Example 2. We have y equals minus or -2 plus cosine x. Okay, amplitude is 1. Period, 2 pi over b. b is 1, so that's 2 pi. Okay, step, that's 2 pi over 4. This is pi over 2. And the vertical shift, let's see, what is the vertical shift? It's -2, so that tells me that my graph is shifted 2 units down. So I'll say 2 down. And phase shift, and I don't have a phase shift here because it's only x by itself, so I'm going to say none. Okay. Now let's graph this function. It's x and y axis. Remember, my graph will be shifted 2 units down. So I'm going to create a new x-axis as we said before. This is x, this is y. I'm going to shift the x-axis 2 units down. So if this is -1, -2. Okay. Now we'll take values of x, and we said the step is pi over 2, so that will be, we'll start with pi over 2 here. And we have pi, and we have 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Since the amplitude is 1, so my graph will be, we said it's shifted 2 units down. So if we go 1 unit up, that will be -1. And if we go 1 more unit down, that is -3. So the graph will be between -1 and -3. Take values of x when we start with the 0. So we can plug in a 0 here, right? Take cosine for it, then add it to -2. That will give you -1. This is my first point. Okay, and then pi over 2, the cosine will be here, -2. For pi, it will be down to -3. And when x is 3 pi over 2, cosine will be -2. And when x is 2 pi, cosine will be -1. Okay? Connect these points to have the graph. And here is my graph. As you see, it's shifted 2 units to the bottom or down. Okay? We still have some more examples. In the next examples, we'll see the effect of the phase shift. Okay. So this is example 3. We have y equals -2 cosine 2x minus pi over 4. We'll say that the amplitude is the absolute value of -2, and that is a 2. Period is 2 pi over 2, and that is pi. Step is the period divided by 4, so that will be pi over 4. Vertical shift, as you see, we don't have a vertical shift here, so say it's none. Horizontal shift, here is the horizontal shift. The horizontal shift, it's negative pi over 4. So we say it's pi over 4 to the right. Okay, so or pi over 4 to the right. And we'll see how that will make the graph look like. So I'm going to graph my function. We said that we don't have vertical shift this time, but we have horizontal one. Let's see. So here's my regular x and y. Axis. And because we said there will be a shift to the right, so I will create a new y-axis that is shifted to the right by pi over 4. And it will look like this. Okay, this is the new y-axis that I'm going to use. The amplitude is 2, so the graph will be between 2 and negative 2. Okay, and here we will start with pi over 4. And then we'll have pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and pi. But we need 4 steps to complete one cycle, right? So we have 1, 2, 3. We'll need to do one more. So we will add another pi over 4 to this pi, and that will be 5 pi over 4, right? Because we need, as we said before, we need 4 steps to complete one cycle. Okay, so when x is pi over 4, you're gonna plug it in here, do all this, you'll get the y equals negative 2. And when x is pi over 2, you plug it in here, you will get cosine will be 0 in this case. And for 3 pi over 4, the value of y will be 2. And when x is pi, y will be 0. And for x is 5 pi over 4, y will be negative 2 again. And here are my points. Let's graph. And this is how my cosine function will look like in this example. And as you see, it's shifted to the right by value of pi over 4. So instead of starting here, the regular y-axis, it is shifted to the right. Let's look at another example where we also have a phase shift, but this time it will be to the left. And let's see how this will look like. So example 4 is y equals 2 plus 3 sine x plus pi over 4. Okay. You know the amplitude will be 3. Period is 2 pi over b, and we don't have any number here, so that's a 1. B is 1, so it's 2 pi. Step is 2 pi over 4, that's pi over 2. And vertical shift, you can't see. So we said the step is pi over 2, vertical shift is, it's 2 units up, so we'll say 2 up. The phase shift, and this time, since it's plus pi over 4, so we'll say it's pi over 4 to the left. Okay? So in this example, we both have a vertical and a horizontal shift. And this will be this. So we're gonna first graph our x and y axis as usual. Okay, but we will create a new x-axis that is 2 units up. So if this is 1, this will be 2. Okay, and for the y-axis, it is shifted to the left, so I'll create a new one here, shifted to the left by pi over 4. Okay, so here are my two new axes, the x and y axes. Okay, so I'll take values for the x, and since the step is pi over 2, and then 0, this, okay, and then what do I have here? Pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, no, I think this should be 2. Negative pi over 2, 0, pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and we said we need 4 steps, so this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll stop here at 2 pi. Sorry about this, but this is 2 pi. Okay, and we'll graph. So when we'll take all the values of x, plug them here each time, find the sign, multiply it by 3, add it to 2. We should get these values. So since my graph is shifted 2 units up and the amplitude is 3, so the graph will go 3 units above the 2 and units below the 2. So this will go to 3, 4, and 5, and then below the 2 that will be 1, 0, negative 1, 2, 3 units. So it will go down to negative 1. Okay? Let's see, in this case, it will be 5. And we'll go to 2. Then we'll go down to negative 1 and back to the 2. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, we need one more step here. So that's 2 pi. And here is my graph. The graph is still missing a lot because my spacing wasn't that very equal. But that's how the graph should look like. Okay? Let's look at the last example. Papers. So we'll look at example 5. And this time we have y equals negative 2 plus 2 cosine. Oh, sorry, there's a 3 here. Cosine 3x minus pi over 6. Okay? Amplitude is 2. Period is 2 pi over b, and b is 3, and that is 2 pi over 3. Step is the 2 pi over 3 divided by 4, so that's like 2 pi over 3 and 4, and there will be pi over 6. Then we have the vertical shift. vertical shift is, as you see, it's -2, so it's 2 units down. Horizontal shift or phase shift, horizontal, right, shift or phase shift is, as you see, it's -pi/6, so we're going to say it's pi/6 to the right. Okay, so my graph will be shifted 2 units down and pi/6 to the right. And let's look at this. This way. Okay, so first we'll graph the x and y, the usual x and y axes. Let's do it here. Okay, and I'm going to create new x and y axes depending on the shifts that I have. I have 2 units down, that will take me down here to -2. And pi/6 to the right, so it will be here. Okay, oops. So here are my new x and y axes. And we said the step is pi/6, so we'll start with values of x, starting at pi/6. We'll keep adding. And it will be pi/3. And then we have pi/2. And we said we need 4 steps since we are shifted 1, so we go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the period is the last one will be 5pi/6. Okay, so from here, from pi/6 to 5pi/6, it will give me my period, the period of this section. Okay, the amplitude is 2, so the graph will go 2 units above the -2, so that will take it to 0, and 2 units below the -2, because remember the graph is shifted 2 to the bottom or down, so it will be here -3, -4. We'll say the graph. So the graph will be between a 0 and -4. Okay, let's take values of x each time, plug it in the function, and take the cosine, multiply by 2, subtract from 2. It should give you when x is pi/6, this is y, this is x, this is the 0. When x is pi/6, should give you a 0. And when x is pi/3, this will be -2. And when x is pi/2, that will take us down to -4. And when x is 2pi/3, it will take us back to -2. And when x is 5pi/6, that will take us back to 0. Okay, let's go ahead and connect these points. And let's move like this. Okay, here is my graph for this example. And that's all what I have for you, all the examples that we have for this video. Take care.